Coop's Game Shelf. I wanted to make this video for a long time, and this is my top 15 PC games from 1989 to 2002. I chose to do it this way rather than make my top favorite PC games because there's so many games I could talk about. So I decided to do this video and then have a separate video which will be my favorite PC games from 2003 to present. So these are my favorite PC games, and there's so many games released for the IBM PC, and there's so many games I love, but if I had to narrow it down to this 15, these are just 15 games I really want to talk about. And I decided to make this list chronological rather than make like number one, number two of my favorite PC game, because that's kind of hard to do. Like, how could I say this game is better than this game? I mean, I enjoy these games so much, and I'm not the type of gamer to play a game more than once. But all these games I've beaten so many times because I love them so much. And I will announce my favorite PC game of all time at the end. My number one, like if I had to choose one game. But so let's start with the first one. So, oops, turn on the shelf here. So, this is Heroes Quest by Sierra, released in 1989. And this is also known as Quest for Glory. This became the Quest for Glory series, and it was originally called Heroes Quest. Then they had to change the name because of copyright. So this is the original version, 16 colors, EGA. There was a remake in 1991, but I prefer this one, and I'll explain why. So the graphics in the 1991 version are better, but I felt like it was the one game that lost a lot going from the text parser to point and click. I feel like adventure games, like their adventure game series, like Space Quest, didn't really lose much going to point and click, but this being an RPG, I really like the typing interface. So let's take a look. Heroes Quest might be the first RPG I ever played. At the time, I'd only played Sierra adventure games. I found this game in a used game store called Computer Jones in the early 1990s. The remake might have been already out at the time, but I still prefer this version. I thought Heroes Quest was so non-linear. You start out and you create your character, and it was advertised as 3 games in 1 because you could be a fighter, a magic user, or a thief. And I always preferred playing thief because you can break into people's houses. And I thought that was so cool. And in fact, unlike most Sierra games, puzzles have multiple solutions. And unfortunately, the discs I bought at the time were corrupted, so I was only able to get to the last boss, and then years later, I was able to finish the game when I found a copy online. It's still my favorite Quest for Glory game, and one of my favorite PC games of all time. I think my favorite part is breaking into houses. This poor old lady, I'm going to break into her house. Quest 5, Absence Makes the Heart Go Yonder, released by Sierra in 1990. King's Quest 5 is one of the first adventure games I ever played, and I saw it at my after-school program around probably 1991, and I was just blown away by this game. The graphics and the voice acting, I'd never heard voice acting in a game, and I had to get it, so I must have got it for Christmas, maybe a year later. And I just loved this game. And I loved it so much that I was King Graham for Halloween, as you could see from my costume. And yeah, this game remains to be my favorite game in the King's Quest series. I think that 6 is very good as well, but to me, 5, even though it doesn't have as high production values as 6, and a lot of the voices are done by Sierra staff, and even the game's creator, Roberta Williams, did voices in this game. So even though it doesn't have the professional voice acting that 6 has, I love this game probably out of nostalgia, and maybe also it's like early CD-ROM games I'm also really into. Just the story, the classic Fable story, I just love this game. And it's one of my favorite childhood games, one of my favorite PC games of all time.
Hey, watch out! A poison snake!
Cooper, watch out! A poisonous snake! Space Quest 4. Here's my original CD for Space Quest 4. And here is a Space Quest 4 mousepad that my friend Roberta got me for my birthday. Really nice of her. Space Quest 4 wasn't the first Space Quest game I played, but it's definitely my favorite. I got it for Christmas, and I remember my dad was setting out the Christmas presents, and I came upstairs at like midnight, and he told me Santa was on the roof. I was 10 years old, so I didn't believe him, but I saw Space Quest 4. He's putting it out. This game is hilarious, and not just that Gary Owens is hilarious as the narrator. He does a fantastic job.
It's you, Roger Wilco, Space Guy!
This game constantly breaks the fourth wall. I think that's why it's so funny. The story is that back in Space Quest 2, Roger pissed off Sludge Vohal, and now in Space Quest 12, he enacts his revenge to kidnap Roger's son. It's really funny, and you'll travel to different Space Quests, even ones that didn't come out, like Space Quest 10 and Space Quest 12, because they never made past Space Quest 6. And you can even go to the EGA version of Space Quest 1 and also Space Quest 3. The sequel police will be chasing you throughout the Space Quest games, and you'll have to escape from them. Here are some things that make Space Quest 4 great. Save Roger's future wife from a slug, and steal her credit card and go shopping at the Galaxy Galleria. Play Astro Trickin' in the arcade. Get a job at Monolith Burger.
Would you like to apply for a job?
You'll get paid by the burger, and you can even talk to the condiments.
Hello, I'm the ketchup. Did you know there's more sugar in me than in ice cream? It's a fact.
Shop for PC games at Software Access. The only games left are in the bargain bin, which is funny because in real life, I found some of my favorite PC games in bargain bins as a kid. And there's parodies of real games that came out, like the King's Quest series and SimCity. So those are really funny. And you have to buy the Space Quest 4 hint book. And there's really funny things in there too. Like things that aren't even in the game. Like, what do you do with the melon? It's really funny. Go and drag as Roger's wife. Then clean out her bank account. So Space Quest 4, hilarious, sci-fi. I love this game.
See ya on the chrono stream, time jockey!
Warcraft 2, The Tides of Darkness, and Beyond the Dark Portal. This box is huge. I played Warcraft 1 in 1994, and then the following year, Warcraft 2 just improved everything on it. The opening cinema and all the cinemas in this game are fantastic for the time. I love the cartoony graphics. I think they hold up pretty well, and the sound is really good, and this is just a fun strategy game, and it was so much better than Warcraft 1, because in Warcraft 1, I think you can only select like 4 characters at a time, and here you can select more. And so this game, I'm not the biggest RTS gamer, but I love the Warcraft series, and Warcraft 2 is one of my favorite PC games.
At one side. At one side. As yet, under attack. Yes. Yes. You alright? Yes, science. Yes.
Duke Nukem 3D. And some of its expansions. I remember reading about Duke Nukem 3D before it came out. I saw this screenshot of a pool table in the game and like it's multiplayer and 8-player co-op. I thought that was so awesome. And I didn't get to play the co-op until later at a LAN party, like years later, but the single-player game is excellent. And really has a lot of personality, and it's really funny, and Duke has some great one-liners. So, and the big thing about this game that was so impressive about the time is a lot of things were interactive, like pool tables in the game, just arcade games, anything you could click on and Duke would say something.
Don't have time to play with myself.
Half-Life. I first saw the Half-Life Uplink demo at my friend's house in 1999. And what this is a demo that has a different story from the main game. And there was also another demo called Half-Life Day 1, which contains 1/5 of the full game. And I got that version with my first graphics card, the 3DFX Voodoo Banshee, and then I later got the full game. This game was amazing for the time. From its opening sequence, riding a tram into a top secret government facility, to just that it seemed like this open world. There was still loading times, but there wasn't like a level structure like normal games. There's chapters, but it isn't like select the level and go. It's one continuous world, and its motto, run, think, shoot, live, is true because you're running like the entire game just through everything, and everything around you, all the NPCs are interacting. And up until this point with games like Doom, there wasn't really any interaction in Doom, and there was in like Duke Nukem 3D, but there wasn't really any characters you talk to. So just the fact that this was like the first-person shooter to do this was just amazing, and the game is just a blast, and it's really fun. Some people don't like the Zen part of the game because of the platforming. It's kind of difficult, and if you make one mistake, you'll fall to your death. If you think the graphics are dated in Half-Life, you can check out the fan-made remake, Black Mesa. Need for Speed High Stakes. Previously I did a review of this game, and this isn't the first Need for Speed game I played, but it's the first Need for Speed game I played on PC. And I played it shortly after building my first PC, and the graphics were incredible for the time. And there was so many cool cars and cool car slideshows. I learned a lot about cars in it, and it was just a blast upgrading your car and doing the high stakes matches where you could lose your car if you lose a high stakes match, or win the opponent's car if you win. It's got an awesome techno soundtrack by Ram DePrisco. It's the first Need for Speed game with a damage model, so your cars could actually get damaged. This is just an incredible game and one of my favorite racing games of all time. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. Star Trek Voyager was my favorite TV show as a kid. I watched it every Wednesday night with my dad, so I couldn't wait to play the game. Unfortunately, this game wouldn't even run on my PC at the time, so I had to play it at a friend's house until I built my first PC in 2000. Elite Force had incredible looking cinematics at the time it was released, and great graphics on the Quake 3 engine. It was so cool being able to walk around Voyager. Even though you couldn't free roam, you could in the expansion. And all the voice actors from the show are here except for Jerry Ryan, but she can be added with a patch. And parts of this game reminded me of Half-Life because it came out only 2 years after that game. Especially this part right here reminds me of Half-Life. Elite Force was developed by Raven Software, who were known for Heretic and Soldier of Fortune. And they make great first-person shooters, and this is no exception. One thing that was unique about Elite Force is you could play as either male or female, and both are fully voice acted.
Monroe to Tuvok. I've been cut off from the rest of the hazard team.
This is another game that I was following before it was released, and I remember reading previews of Deus Ex, and it was originally supposed to have this lip syncing technology that was supposed to be good, and I don't think that made it into the final game because the characters' mouths don't look that realistic. And this is a first-person shooter mixed with RPG elements, but what was so cool about it is there's so many different ways to complete your objectives, so it's extremely non-linear. NPCs react to your actions, so if you sneak into the women's bathroom, your boss will scold you for it later.
Don't think I won't report this.
This makes the game world feel more alive, and also you'll travel to so many different places in this game, like Hong Kong, and it just felt like it's this one long, huge adventure.
I spill my drink!
Anachronox. Anachronox is a sci-fi Japanese-style RPG released by Western developer Ironstorm in 2001. There aren't that many JRPGs on PC, and this is exclusive to PC. It used the Quake 2 engine, and because of delays in development, by the time this game came out in 2001, games were already using the Quake 3 engine. And that was because of delays, and when it was originally conceived, it was supposed to come out in 1998 and use the Quake 1 engine. So the graphics were kind of dated, but in my opinion the art style was excellent, and this game is really funny, and it has a good story. It's a fun game and definitely one of my favorite games of all time. Some of your party members include a cranky old man, a superhero, and a planet.
Drink in peace.
A planet joins your party.
Please tell me this is a joke.
Surprise! We've come to compensate you for all your generous help.
Shoot me.
I told you they would be surprised.
So Anachronox is one of my favorite PC games of all time, and I definitely recommend it. Max Payne is a film noir-style third-person shooter, and it was the first game to use bullet time, so you could do all these cool moves like dive off stairs and take out the enemies. It was just awesome, and it was a blast to play. I was really into this band called Disturbed when Max Payne came out, so I had their album Down with the Sickness, and I listened to the CD while I played Max Payne. And I can't show it here because of copyright, but it goes really well to Max Payne, and anyway, I love this game. It's awesome. Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast is another excellent licensed game by Raven Software. And while it starts out kind of slow and it's kind of just like Dark Forces with just shooting and stuff, by the time you get a lightsaber, the game gets amazing. Unfortunately, that's a couple of hours in, and the lightsaber battles in this game were incredible. To earn your lightsaber, you have to pass the trials of the Valley of the Jedi by solving Force puzzles. As a Jedi, you'll have to solve a couple Force puzzles like pushing crates using your Force powers. Even though there's some great Star Wars games, Jedi Knight 2 might be the only game to accurately portray the lightsaber. Even modern games like Star Wars Battlefront get this wrong. It's supposed to dismember other people, and it's supposed to leave marks on walls and be this heavy weapon. And Jedi Knight 2 gets this all right. My biggest complaint about this game is that sometimes it's so tricky to find out where to go. Like there's some tiny switch way high up, and if you didn't have like a walkthrough, it'd be kind of hard to figure out where to go. Despite those complaints, Jedi Knight 2 is one of my favorite Star Wars games, and one of my favorite PC games of all time. The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Morrowind was the first Elder Scrolls game I played. Even though my PC was getting kind of dated by the time Morrowind came out, I thought it looked incredible. Like all Elder Scrolls games, you start in a prison, and then when you're set free, it's up to you to decide where to go. Like I said, this game looked incredible for the time it came out, and if you had a GeForce 3 card or above, you could see pixel shaded water like here. Unfortunately, I still had a GeForce 2 at the time, so I couldn't see the water, but it still looked great. You can steal items, join factions, You can even build your own house in the game using an editor. I was so into this game that after high school, when I went to Tahoe with some of my friends, I wanted to buy an Xbox just so I could play it on vacation. The world was really immersive, and there'd be really funny things like you'd just be walking and this guy would just fall out of the sky. In my opinion, Morrowind is the best of the Elder Scrolls games. The environments were way more varied, whereas the new games there's just like a castle and a forest and a cave. In Morrowind, you'd go to all these cities and some would have like a dust storm going on, and the world was just so alien and seemed so unique to me. So, one of my favorite CRPGs of all time, one of my favorite games of all time, Morrowind. Warcraft 3, The Reign of Chaos. I remember going to Software Etc. in 2002 to buy Warcraft 3. The guy working there asked me if I wanted the Night Elf box, the Orc, or the Human. I said, give me the Orc box. And this game might be my favorite RTS of all time. Definitely one of my favorite games of all time. Warcraft 3, it's just so much fun. And the spin on the series was, even though Warcraft 2 had heroes, in Warcraft 3 they could level up to a max level of 10. The leveling up and other optional quests are early signs of World of Warcraft, which came out a couple years later. So Warcraft 3 was Blizzard's first 3D game, and it wasn't the first 3D RTS that was Populous 3 at the beginning in 1998, but Warcraft 3 standardized 3D in the genre.
Is there danger? I'm here to help. Of course. A sound plan.
Mafia. Mafia is a third-person shooter and open-world driving game that came out in 2002, and I just love this game. This game has one of the best stories of any game, and it really feels like you're playing a movie. It's a lot similar to Grand Theft Auto in just that it's an open world, but it was a little bit more realistic than Grand Theft Auto. Like, you'll get pulled over for speeding, for running red lights, and you couldn't get every car right away. You had to learn to lockpick them. And that was one thing I really liked about this game. And when you add up like new cars to your garage, it's just really cool when you get this garage full of classic cars. And I got a ticket here for speeding because the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. And I think I like that realism about the game. I even got pulled over for crashing into a trash can. And I think that makes the world more believable. You also have to keep your car filled with gas, unlike the Grand Theft Auto series. But the game doesn't use money. It'll just show you paying the officer your fine or paying the gas attendant. Some people didn't like the racing mission in the game because it was too difficult. I was able to beat it as a kid, but it was kind of frustrating. There's a patch that can make it easier though. I love all the classic cars. There's even a mod that has the real name because they're called something else in the game. But just look at my garage full of cars. So if you like games with a good story and open world driving games, I definitely recommend checking out Mafia. So those are my top 15 PC games from 1989 to 2002. So out of those games, what is my absolute favorite? Well, that's Space Quest 4. I just love this series, and this is my favorite in the series because it's so funny and has voice acting, and I would say that 5 is really good too. It's even more of a parody of Star Trek, but just because this has voice acting, and Gary Owens is hilarious as the narrator. So I love all these games, and I'd like to do a Fallout video, which is my favorite PC games from 2003 to present. So stay tuned for that on Coop's Game Shelf, and thanks for watching.